episode number 34. My name is Thamsanqa Tu, sometimes known as TT, sometimes known as Chairman. I am privileged today to be joined by Roy Jankielsohn. I feel wrong not to have included the prefix Dr. Roy Jankielsohn of the Democratic Alliance, the leader of the Democratic Alliance in the Free State. And we're meeting today in changing times. In the last time we spoke, the ANC was still in government as the leading party, but today we don't know where the country is going. But I know that the DA, the other political parties are engaged charting the future of this country for the next 5 years. But I think also before we go any further, let's just take the moment to congratulate the DA for having performed with improvement from their 2019 results. In 2019, they had achieved about 17.5% of the vote. In 2024, they've got 21. That's over 4 percentage growth in the Free State. First of all, Roy, congratulations for having achieved that feat. It shows that the DA is really growing in the Free State. What do you attribute that to as a political party?
Good morning, Titi, and you and I know each other well enough now that you can call me Roy and not by any titles. It's nice to be back on the show, and it's post-election time, and we're into a very exciting time in the history of our country and in the Free State. Yes, we grew by over 4%, which is the biggest growth of any party that was in the legislature previously in the Free State. We've also seen the birth of 2 new parties, each with 1 seat in the provincial legislature. But I think the growth of the DA can be attributed to 2 things. I think firstly, our people, our DA people on the ground, our election machine is more professional than any other political party. And our people on the ground have been working very hard, not just in the few months before the election, but long before the election. We started with registration campaigns to register people who are DA orientated in the Free State. Then we went full into election campaign with various phases of our campaign. And then the final election day was a very good operation on getting our voters out on election day, because as a party, we know who our voters are, where they are, and how to contact them. So that is a very important strategy of ours, which we used very effectively. But at the end of the day, strategy is only as effective as the people that implement it. And our DA people on the ground have been very professional throughout the campaign. They've worked extremely hard. So that is probably the most important reason why we've grown. We also put, good offer in the Free State to people. We have a ready to govern document, an alternative, which we think is based, it's based not only on, theoretical aspects regarding a manifesto or policies, but actually based on where we govern and where we've been successful and the case studies there and what was done there to be effective. So our offer to the people of the Free State was a very credible one, as opposed to other opposition parties who basically have a theoretical document. Ours was based on practical examples and best practices of where we govern. And then I think another aspect is the decline of the ANC, that people have lost confidence in the ANC in the Free State. And we saw a massive fall of the ANC. And if one looks at the election results, it's also because of the apathy. A lot of ANC supporters just didn't bother to come out and vote for them because they've lost confidence in them. And then obviously, many of them also came out and voted for other political parties. So that's also contributed to the changes in the Free State.
And talking about this, the ANC spokesperson in the Free State, Jabumba Lula, mentioned that service delivery failures, unemployment, and poverty were among the reasons for their decline. Do you agree with his analysis? And what factors
I
do you
agree with
believe?
him absolutely. That is the reason for the decline, and the ANC are responsible for all those things. And the
Hmm.
fact that their new leadership show and things didn't change shows that they were unable to self-correct. And people know that the ANC on its own will never be able to fix the mistakes that they themselves have made and the problems that they've created in this country. So I agree with him 100% that those failures must be placed at the door of the ANC. They must take responsibility for it. But at the end of the day, the vote is in future, because we're now already preparing for 2026 local government elections, and the voters must take the responsibility for bringing about the changes that they want and that they deserve.
Hmm. Because I did find it very interesting that he acknowledges this, yet they are doing nothing about it. It's not as if they only found out on the results that people are not satisfied with these. In any way, moving forward, the DA is still in the opposition benches in the Free State legislature. What are you going to do in order to improve these issues that the people know are declining in our country? Service delivery issues, unemployment, corruption, and so on.
We will continue to be the voice of the people in the Free State legislature. And when people come to us for assistance, we don't ask what political party do you belong to. We are the official opposition in the Free State legislature, and the ANC have the majority to form a government in the Free State. So as we expect the ANC as the government to be impartial when it comes to assisting people on the ground. Where's the official opposition? Likewise, don't ask people, what party do you belong to? So we will continue to be an effective opposition, to hold the government accountable, to ensure that where there's malfeasance, where there's corruption, we continue to expose it and refer it to law enforcement agencies. We also, with our increase of a member in the legislature and the changing dynamics within the legislature, which are very important, will also use that position effectively to ensure that we have more people sitting on committees, if not officially, at least in numbers, people sitting there to ask critical questions in those committees to try and hold the government more accountable. But there's so many people who feel marginalized in the Free State, a lot of people who are unemployed, who don't have homes, who have no water in their taps, who have sewage running through the streets, who don't have electricity. Those things didn't change overnight. And as the spokesperson of the ANC said, they've been unable to correct them, and they're not going to be able to going forward. So we will continue to raise these issues and put pressure on the provincial government, the ANC-run provincial government, to improve the situation on the ground and to use the resources, the few that we have, and they're dwindling because of the economy that's declining due to ANC policies, that they use these effectively to benefit our people in the province and improve the services to our people in the Free State. And the most important thing is we want to engage with the ANC on how to improve our economy in the province. We know for example, the Western Cape, where they've had huge successes in creating employment and improving services. We want the ANC to put their pride in their pocket and look at best practices and implement these best practices, and also to put the people of the Free State first and not the political party first. And these are the things that we will continue to engage with in future. And hopefully, because of the ANC's decline, they'll be more willing now to engage with the opposition than they have in the past.
And talking about that, Roy, it's a very interesting concept you are bringing up. Why has it never happened, though, that political parties of the legislature can be able to call bilaterals amongst them, between themselves, and talk about solutions that would benefit, the people of the province or the people of the country, outside of the legislature itself? Does it always have to be parties in alliance in terms of ideology, or can this actually happen, that the DA in the Free State has a meeting with the ANC in the Free State and talk about the needs of the population of the Free State?
Well, I think as government is devolved from national down to provincial and local, ideology becomes less important, and it's more about actual service delivery, because the more you decentralize, the more it's about services and less about grand ideologies and national policies. But they are also important, and the ANC has unfortunately driven ideology and not service delivery policy at these levels. But within the legislature, the opposition parties have in many instances been able to unite to hold the ANC-run government to account, the executive to account, and even within committees, the ANC and opposition members have been able to, around certain issues like the Ramkraal, the alleged corruption that took place there, which we formed an ad hoc committee on and investigated and referred to law enforcement agencies. Even there, we as members of the legislature who are not an executive were able to come to some sort of consensus decision around these issues based on principles of sound governance. But the government, unfortunately, the Premier and his executive are not as compromised, or not as willing to talk to us as their members in the legislature, in those portfolio committees. So in the past, we've had premiers who have said to us, we must talk. And then I would say, but, arrange a date, I'm available. They never do that. So it's just a matter of wanting to talk, but never actually engaging with us on a one-to-one level. And perhaps that will change going forward now that the ANC has seen that their strategies haven't worked in the past. And perhaps they need to listen to the opposition now and again. Some of our members have had a lot of experience in the legislature working with departments, and I think have more experience of departments than some of the newly appointed MECs that we've seen being appointed. And if those MECs were willing to engage with us, we would like to assist them, because assisting them will mean assisting the people of the Free State. And that is what is a priority for us, is the people of the Free State. And it's not about, not talking to this one or not talking to that. No, it's about talking to each other and looking at ways of improving the services to our people in the province.
And with the national election results now sort of forcing collusion talks between political parties, and there are advanced rumors of discussions between the ANC, the IFP, and the DA. What is the Free State's DA stance on forming a coalition government at the national government level, and how do you navigate the complexities of the different political parties themselves?
We're sitting with a very complex issue at national government, that no one has an outright majority in parliament to appoint the executive. So we're heading into very interesting times for South Africa. And obviously we are part of South Africa in the Free State, so it's going to affect us as well. But I know that there are talks amongst leaders, and it is very positive for our country. The DA will always put the people of South Africa first. We have appointed a team to go out and look at various options that will be in the best interest of the people of South Africa. So we are waiting at a federal executive level, where I also serve, for the outcomes of this. And we are having discussions around what would be best for South Africa going forward, especially in terms of protecting our constitution and in ensuring that our democracy comes out strong at the end of the day, and that our people get the services on the ground and the economic benefits of stability that these talks might bring.
And talking about your representation now in the legislature, there have been concerns on social media about the racial composition of the DA's representation to the 7th Free State legislature. How do you respond to criticism that the DA in the Free State is predominantly white and, in the legislature with only one black person? What steps is the party taking to address these concerns and promote inclusivity?
Well, we don't only have one black person. We have two black individuals in our caucus in the legislature, but we are the only party that is diverse in the legislature. If one looks at other political parties, especially in the previous term, we were the only party that was diverse. So I think you must ask the same questions to the EFF and MK and the Freedom Front and these parties, because we are in fact diverse where they are not diverse. So I think they have a lot more to explain, given their size as well. You know, the ANC in the past have said we're diverse because we've got one white person in our caucus. And that's out of a caucus of perhaps 19 or 20. So, one must ask these questions of them. Whereas the DA has always prided ourselves on being the most diverse party in Parliament. We are the most diverse party in the legislature, given our size. And if you go to our councils as well, we're extremely diverse. If one looks at some of our council compositions, you'll find there are more black members than white councillors in those caucuses. So we don't look at the color of a person's skin when we go through processes of nominating candidates who are going to stand for elections. We go for a thing which we call fitness for purpose. And we would look at who are the individuals and what characteristics do they have that will best serve the people of the Free State.
And, various political parties, including the EFF as well as ACT, have raised allegations of election rigging in the Free State. What is your perspective on these claims, and how do you think such disputes should be handled to ensure a fair and transparent electoral process?
We do have processes which are legislated. And when the first results started coming out, the Democratic Alliance had a team that sat literally day and night. They were working in shifts, comparing the results slips on the ground with the information that was fed in at IEC level. And we were able to raise many objections and raise these issues with the IEC, whose job it then is to correct these issues. In some instances, it is human error that the person who's been working long hours within the IEC type in the incorrect numbers. In other instances, we found it was a little bit more serious, where there was one voting station, for example, where more votes were passed than actual people registered at the station. But these are all issues that we raised with the IEC, and the IEC had a specific time frame to deal with them. So I think the people who are raising these issues about vote rigging are the actual experts at vote rigging, because I think the things that they've raised are things that they know very well have happened in the past when they were in control of the ANC. So they will obviously have more information than what I would have about how vote rigging takes place. But if they have proof of it, they must actually bring that proof to the forefront so that it can be investigated, and if necessary, criminal charges will be laid. We are also looking post-election and taking further action, obviously, around one or two of these issues. But we're not convinced that it had a major impact. The issues that we raised, and that most of which were corrected, had a major impact on the outcome of the election. So I would like those parties also to give us the proof. But there were very serious problems with the IEC which did impact on the election. And I wouldn't call it vote rigging, but I would rather call it administrative incompetence. Where we had issues at voting stations of technology that failed them, machines that weren't working, people standing in long queues, running out of ballot papers, and various other issues. So I think the issues within the ANC, or within the IEC, sorry for that Freudian slip, with the IEC was less deliberate vote rigging than it was just issues relating to their competency to do the job.
And with one of those situations where you found in one voting station where there were more votes cast than there were people registered, how was that particular situation resolved?
Well, we did raise it with the IEC, and we are busy also looking at the possibility of, within the Electoral Act, determining whether there is a case for criminal charges against the individuals involved there, because that is a very serious issue. But it wasn't a general issue across the Free State.
Okay. And finally, Roy, with what you guys were able to achieve, what message would you like to convey to the voters who supported the DA and those who didn't support the DA likewise? What message would you have for them?
Our message during this campaign was to rescue the Free State and rescue South Africa. And at a national level, we will continue to do what we can to rescue South Africa from a very radical alliance which will destroy our country. We've seen what happened in Zimbabwe and the 90% poverty and unemployment because of that type of government. So we will continue to try and prevent that at national level. But within the Free State, where the ANC do still have a majority, although it is a very slight majority, we will continue to play our role as an effective opposition to represent our people within the legislature and fight very hard for improved services at that level. But we also want to encourage our people in the next elections in 2026 at local government level to bring about the necessary changes that they deserve within their municipalities. Obviously, the composition of the legislature is going to be very interesting because we sit with the ANC now have 16 members and the opposition combined 14 members. So when you take out the premier and his executive, the ANC only have 5 members left in the legislature, while the opposition still have 14 members. So how the ANC are going to navigate this and the talks that we're going to have as political parties represented in the legislature on how we're going to deal with this are going to be very interesting as well.
Interesting times indeed. Thank you very much, Roy, and all the best in all the negotiations that you guys are going to be entering into. And we hope that you all serve the interest of the people of the Free State, the interest of the people of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Titi. You can rely on us to always do what's best for the people of the Free State and the country.
Thank you very much. That was Roy Jankielsohn of the Democratic Alliance in the Free State. A very interesting conversation, very eye-opening also. We will be back with the last interview of the day at 12, right? At 12. Thank you.